Welcome back to part 2 of this winter bag crochet tutorial. In this part we're going to start working on the bag body. So we finished the bag base in the last video. Let's continue on now. In this 6th round we're going to start building the bag body, and we're going to do that as a continuation of the bag base. And we will also start building up our waffle pattern. So for the 6th round, we're going to single crochet around, but in the back loop only for 84 stitches. And once we do that, I'll just quickly describe the revised waffle pattern that I've made here. And it's built up in 3 rounds. So to make one waffle, you need to make 3 rounds. And starting with single crochets in the back loop only when we work in the round. So that's going to be the first round of this pattern. And then the 2nd round is just a normal single crochet all around. And then the last 3rd of these rounds for this pattern is going to be what I call front post double crochets. Although there is no real post, as we're going into the single crochet row 2 rows down, and you're gonna see what I mean when we get there, but that's just the basic stitch pattern that we're going to use. Now we reached the 7th round. We're using a crochet across. This would equal the 2nd round of the waffle pattern. front post double crochet round. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a front post double crochet 2 rows down, and then we're going to skip the stitch that is covered by the double crochet that we're making, and then we're going to crochet 2 single crochets. And a tip to find the right stitch to stitch into is to trace it along, maybe with your fingers at first, just to get a feel for it, and just follow along for those 2 rounds. And then you see usually the stitches tend to lean a little forward, so just follow along and crochet the double crochet into the stitch that you followed, right above the loop that we left untouched in the back loop only round, that is forming a kind of straight line, poking a little outwards. So now that you've finished the first waffle round, we're gonna repeat the revised waffle pattern for 24 rounds, which equals a total of 9 waffle rounds. And then I'll meet you back here later. My 9 waffle round, which means we're almost done with the bag, and it should look a little like this now. So now we're gonna get started on the lid, and we're gonna count to 3 from the last stitch we made and mark off with a stitch marker, and we're counting 37 and marking off once again, and the lid will be worked into these 37 stitches that we have marked off. So just to get started, to get to that right stitch, we're going to slip stitch 3 until we reach the first marker, and then we're gonna work 37 single crochets in the back loop only. And I just want to remind you that since we're not working in the round anymore, we have to end each round with a chain 1 and turn. us right into round 35. We're gonna work our front post double crochet pattern, and this time we're going to make 1 front post double crochet and 2 single crochets just as before, 12 times, and then we're gonna end with 1 front post double crochet. We're gonna end like this on every round where we make these front post double crochets. And the last front post double crochet can feel a little bit disconnected to the rest of the bag lid. So when I feel like it might be a little bit too disattached, I actually, before making double crochet, I go through the stitch that the double crochet is supposed to replace, and then bring up the yarn, and then I make the double crochet. So then I have 4 loops on my hook, and I go through 3, the first 3 of the hook, and then I go through 2. And that's just a little tip. It's when you feel like it might be a little bit too loose, I like to do that. Since we're not working in the round anymore, we're gonna have to change a little bit how we're doing things. So instead of going through the back loop only, we're going through the front loop only, every even numbered waffles. So this we've done in round 4, 10, 16 and 22. And the reason we're doing this is because we want that visible row in the front that kind of marks off and creates that waffle pattern. And now we reach round 37, where we just single crochet across 37 stitches. Round 38, we're working 1 front post double crochet and then 2 single crochets, and we do that 12 times, and then the last ending front post double crochet. As I said, we always end with that front post double crochet, and it might be a little hard at first to make these because we're kind of making them upside down and it feels a little bit wrong, but once you get the hang of it, it's quite easy. Don't forget to skip that one where our double crochet is replacing that stitch. And as you can see here, I'm kind of folding it inwards and then making sure I go above that front loop that we left untouched. Now for round 39 through 56, we're going to repeat this revised waffle pattern for 18 rounds. So we're going to create 6 more waffles for a total of 8 waffles for the lid. Now that you've finished the lid, we're going to add the fur detailing. So now that we're adding the fur detailing, we're going to crochet into the turning chains, which is 2 per waffle, which equals a total of 16 turning chains on each side of the bag lid. However, we're going to increase in that last turning chain to make it the edges smoother. So we're gonna make 15 single crochets. So attach that white or cream fur yarn into the first turning chain, and then you crochet 15 single crochets, one into each turning chain, and then in that last 16th turning chain you make an increase. Part of the lid, use crochet 1 single crochet into each of the stitches, so that's 37 stitches, and then we make an increase into that first, and then on the other side of the bag where we're going to turning chains, in the first turning chain we're going to increase, and then we use single crochet into the 15 turning chain spaces that we have left. And then we're actually finished with the lid as well. Now it's time to fasten the D-rings, and to find the right place to fasten it, I'm just going to give you some tips. So first of all, we want to crochet across 5 single crochets, but I think it's easier to just count it backwards. So we're going to check which single crochet is connected to the front post double crochet row that is after the one in the middle that is centered to like the middle of the bag base. And you just count 5 backwards from that one, and that's where we're gonna place our first single crochet. And remember that we're working from the inside out to get just a better look of it all. So just reattach your yarn and then crochet away 5 single crochets. Now grab your D-ring and then working your way through the D-ring and into the stitch, crochet 5 more single crochets, and then we're just gonna fasten off and then repeat on the other side. I also think, like, since you're pretty much done, this is a perfect time to hide away all your yarn cakes you might have. I'm the type who saves them for last, so if you're like me, just hide them away now. Now it's time to get your silver chain. What we're going to do is we're going to attach the chain, just pull it through both the D-rings, and then attach the first link of the chain to the last link of the chain, so it forms a loop. Now we'll add a snap button as the last step, and you count 7 from each last part of the round from the bag bottom. Count 7, and once you reach the same front post double crochet from either side you count from, you found the right spot to sew it on. I count the same way for the lid, and make sure you add them at the same height from both edges. So